Good afternoon again and welcome back to the GreenFleet Decarbonisation Hub here at the centre of activity at CV Show 2026. We're continuing our discussions around the light duty fleet and all of the activity decarbonisation of commercial vehicles, but actually one of the things we're going to focus on now is some of the myth busting that we need to do to get the right messages out there about vehicles, and what the GreenFleet team are going to be doing in the next few months with the EV Rally. The EV Rally, many of you will know from the last few years, where we've been demonstrating the capability of EVs, but more importantly perhaps the capability of the charging infrastructure and its development over a number of years. And I'm very pleased to say I've got two of the stalwarts from EV Rallies of past to talk to today. Duncan Webb from the AA team, who've been there since the start, I believe, every EV rally that's been run, and of course Chris Chandler, many of you will know Chris from Autolease, who's actually been the prime sponsor for the last 3 years on the EV Rally. Duncan, Chris, great to have you along, and great to have you along for the EV Rally this year as well, the Mythbuster Rally. So, Chris, first of all, from a Lex perspective, you've been headline sponsors for the last couple of years. Why is this so important to Lex to be out there and seen as part of the rally?
Thanks, Andy, and hi. Yeah, it's a really important piece for us because right in the heart of Lex Autolease and everything we do is our sustainability strategy and decarbonisation. And we firmly believe that for our customer fleets, which is up to 3.5 tonne, electric's the way to go. And we noticed right from the start there are so many misconceptions and assumptions about electric vehicles which often put people off. Now, you get really strong views against electric vehicles, but you also get people who are just sitting on the fence. And when it's quite a big investment to make, it only takes a few misconceptions to kick the can down the street. So what we liked about the EV Rally is, as you know, I can talk technical stuff till the cows come home and bore everybody. But the beautiful thing about the EV Rally is it's very visible, and people, you know, they're just seeing. We've had everything from motorbikes to 40-tonne fully laden trucks driving all around the UK, doing sometimes up to 1,500 miles in the week, stopping at charge points, using the charge points, and it's just visible and really simple to see. And people remember that much more than somebody just talking about stats and figures. So for us, it's been really, really powerful.
Absolutely. I think you know, you're so right. There's nothing like kicking the tyres, getting in there, bums on seats, driving these vehicles. So Duncan from the AA, you've been there since the start as the AA, I guess partly to kind of sweep up and see if there's any breakdowns on the rally. I don't know whether we've had many. I remember a puncture, I'm sure, that a couple of people had, but yeah, what's your experience of it?
Yeah, we're in it because it's about how we do business. You know, last year was a massive year for us because we were 120 years old as a company, so it was like a double celebration on the rally for us, but we want to still be in 120 years' time. So our business has been on the EV transformation journey for many years now, and we support a lot of the product out there on the road from an in-life servicing perspective. Yes, we do sweep up people if they do break down. I will reassure you though, the only person we swept up last year was a member of public that we found who had genuinely had a tyre issue. Wasn't even a member, but we fixed them and got them on their way anyway. No EV, no problems there for the whole of last year. So associating with GreenFleet is just natural for us because EVs is just another evolution in our business to support people and be on the side of the driver if you're a driver, or be on the side of a business if you're a business buying an EV in the UK.
Yeah, but you're moving the AA fleet across as well, and that's progressing. So, you know, how are you getting on with that in terms of the proportion of electric vehicles that you're actually embedding in your own fleet?
Yeah, I'd put it into we run cars, vans, and trucks to keep it dead simple. Cars, we're done. We're well on our way. We have an EV only policy. Everything in our fleet is powered by electric in some way. So, but we're about 60% pure electric. The hybrids will run out over the next 2 to 3 years. Cars done. Vans, Where we can do them, we have done them, but we do have a genuine restriction, which is the towing capability of EVs. You know, the last thing we want is to leave customers in a distressed situation any more than we need to. So that is actually a very practical limitation. I'm sure the market will break through on that in the not too distant future, though. So the EV journey can take us there. Trucks, we've got 4, which is 2% of the fleet. We use HVO, third of the fleet, so we've got that interim step for the fleet going on, and we're really proud that we're going to be bringing the electric truck to the rally this coming year.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. So, I mean, one of the things about the rally this year, Colin, you know, he's always looking for new ways to test both the participants, the vehicles and the chargers. So there's a whole truck activity going on this year, a truck rally as well, isn't there? And you're bringing a full-size recovery truck along for the ride.
Yeah, we operate a range of EVs in the truck space, but we're going to bring the big 15-ton recovery truck, so it's capable of having 2 vehicles, one on the bed, one on the back as well, in parallel. That's been operating now for about 15 months in a Birmingham area. Nice urban geography for it to operate in, and it's performing really well.
Yeah, I've got visions of sort of Top Gear with the ICE vehicle as the one in the background that none of them want to drive. It's sort of, you can kind of see that happening. So the theme this year is all about Mythbusters, the Mythbusters rally. What are some of the myths that we're hoping to bust, do you think, Chris, in terms of...
Yeah, and if I'm brutally honest, you know, the rally, over all the years we've been doing it, that's part of its purpose, to bust myths. So, you know, when we did the first EV rally, and we started off in Scotland, we had, I think it was about 45 vehicles, and we're queuing up to charge on a couple of 50 kilowatt chargers in the middle of nowhere. Very nice social event because we're chatting to people. But, you know, it was showing there was a network out there, but it had its issues. And over the years, things like the network, now, to be honest, last year was pretty easy. Lots of big charging hubs. The vehicles themselves, we've now got vehicles easily capable in real-world driving of surpassing 300 miles in single charge. And in our circle of people who talk EVs all the time, we're happy that the charging infrastructure is good, the vehicle technology is good, the costs stack up, but there are still hard to shift myths that still keep circulating. And you know, we're almost wanting to try and do the mic drop stuff to say, look, you know, the thing about vehicles catching fire all the time, here are people who know they don't. When we're talking about the charging infrastructure, rather than quoting how many new chargers have been put in the last 6 months, going to these charging hubs and showing that even when we're stress testing the network by putting 50 odd vehicles on the same, you know, route at the same time, there's still plenty of other chargers at these charging hubs that are free and available when we're there. And so it's really trying to kill some of these myths once and for all. So I think the rally over the years has been excellent sort of fighting back some of these myths. But this is an opportunity to really focus on the fact that some of these myths are still there and they really shouldn't be. When people mention them, they're probably thinking about 3 or 4 years ago when, you know, you went to a motorway service and there were 2 chargers and one wasn't working. You know, I went to a motorway service station recently, Rugby, and you'll know it very well. I have no idea how many chargers there are there because it's got to be north of 35, 40. So it's being able, it goes back to that first thing, it's being able to visually pull up to these places and just see, you know, a whole row of chargers and say, you know, what is the problem about no charging? Because there's obviously plenty here.
So the argument is really, we don't need Chris Chandler driving on the rally because he knows all these myths don't actually exist. What we need is the person who's actually espousing these myths. I think I'm right in saying that both of you have actually invited sort of teams in and people if you like, non-believers, if I can call them that, probably, to actually come and experience it, because there's nothing like going out there, driving the distance, charging, and kind of seeing how easy it is. Is that, you know, you've had some of your team on the rally, haven't you?
Yeah, and during the rally, we you know, we're in it to give confidence. We've been here for 120 years. We want to be here for 120 more, and giving confidence to drivers that it's okay is sort of the core of why we do it. You know, along the way, we will stop at specific customers' premises, we'll stop at specific supplier premises, or we stop at a public space, and we'll just get some of these myths out, and I can share some of them today. You know, 99% of our people are level 2 trained mechanics. So if you do break down in an EV, if you do, okay, we can fix you. It's not a problem, okay? Secondly, everybody thinks they break down more than an ICE-powered vehicle. They don't, okay? They break down less.
Yep.
Everybody thinks they're harder to fix when you get there. They're not. We fix more EVs at the roadside than we do traditional ICE vehicles. And most importantly of all, everybody always says this, everybody just runs out of charge, and you know, the world is littered with EV chargers, EVs that are out of charge, and it's now 1.6%, petrol and diesel's 1% of jobs. So it's a total myth that everybody just thinks everybody's running out of charge. They're just not. We're on par with Norway, which has the lowest adoption in the EU in that respect. So there's lots of good messages we can get out and visit those communities along the way.
I mean, some really great stats there. I mean, that's brilliant. One of the things, I mean, you can never misfuel an EV. Have we still got a misfueling problem, even given that people are moving away from
1%. 1% of our jobs in the AA will be because someone has misfueled for some reason.
Okay.
We've got specialist teams that still would deploy to help such customers. So it's there.
Yeah.
You know, you can't help. You can't help, I won't use the word I was going to use, but you can't help stupid sometimes. But that will always be part of our business, but it's becoming a declining part of the business. But it's very hard to plug an EV in incorrectly.
Absolutely, yeah. So,
and it's interesting what you say about, you know, involving people outside of our echo chamber, because, you know, we've been doing this a very long time. So last year we had some EV skeptics on the cars. One of them sadly was subjected to me for a whole day. So I don't know if I beat them in submission or they actually decided they did like the vehicle and the driving experience. But we're getting EV skeptics in. We're not just looking for people who enjoy driving. So within the whole of Lloyds Banking Group, we've gone out and said, look, if you're EV curious, if you're excited about EVs, or if you really don't like them, there's a place on the rally for you. We've also got, we had one day last year. This year we're going to have one vehicle for the whole rally, which is going to be our women in transport. And, you know, the statistics are that given that 47% of all drivers are women, their uptake of electric is way lower than males. And we think we know some of the reasons for that, but this is an opportunity for our Women in Transport, which is an organisation we have within Lloyds Transport, to help shine a light on that and see if there's anything that we can do to help that. And maybe if they can share their experiences and say, you know what, it's actually not as daunting and not as confusing as we thought. I mean, I've got a daughter who was going to get an electric vehicle, and the thing that put her off was she'd be travelling to her sister's, which is a long distance, and in the services she'd stop at, all the chargers were over in a dark corner, and she didn't feel comfortable walking in the dark across the car park to the main services. So it's all these things we've got to work out. Well, why is there a disparity? But importantly, how do we help so that, you know, everybody can partake in electric vehicles? Because, you know, we've been talking about sustainability, the environment, that's great. But in this current cost of living crisis, electric vehicles, in my opinion, are just cheaper and better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something to focus on.
And I guess the economics, you know, right now with everything that's going on, the economics are even more and more positive for the EV operation, providing you can charge reasonably at home or find relatively cheap charging and things like that. It does make sense. I mean, that point about charging, I mean, obviously we're seeing a major difference in some of the charging hubs, that sort of the grid-served forecourts that are akin to a regular forecourt, just the same, good lighting, canopies, all the things. So it is moving, it is changing. Are there any other sort of, if you like, sectors or groups that you feel are underrepresented in the EV community that you see within your data? And
I think there's the very well documented differential of, from a cost perspective, if you can charge at home and if you're reliant on the public charging. And there are things that we're trying to look at. We've got some of our customers, for instance, who are sharing their charging sites. So you might have a business that during the day all the employees are in, all the chargers are being used, but at night they're all just lying dormant. And there might be residents in that area that could actually use those, and that'd be far cheaper than going to a commercial site to charge. We talked about the VAT a number of times, the difference between home energy VAT and for public charging. So I think that's quite a big issue, and probably, I mean, I think cars are a long way down the road now. The vehicles have got good range, they're easy to charge, there's great product out there, and especially in the corporate market, the BIK tax and salary sacrifice benefits almost make it a no-brainer. A lot of our focus at the moment is obviously commercial vehicles, because if you can't charge a commercial vehicle at a domestic property and it doesn't go back to a depot, then that opens up a completely different dynamic, and that's probably our biggest technical focus at the moment. How do you transition a commercial vehicle fleet when you're looking at depot charging as a capex cost and might have an energy supply issue versus whether you can or can't charge at home.
Yeah.
So that's probably the trickiest piece at the moment.
And how do your operators manage to charge up? What's the sort of arrangements you've got for the AA fleet in terms of charging?
Yes, certainly. So for cars, it's home.
Yeah.
For vans, we've got home-based charging where possible. I think this is the big, just picking up on what Chris said, if you have depots, your ability to convert is even better. If you don't have depots, you're not. So what you see is I think the van is going very sector specific in terms of its adoption. So what you're seeing is very clear segments being able to move at pace, and that being very economical for them to do so. But if you haven't got a high penetration of home chargers and you don't have depots, and you're at the behest of a public network that currently is a turn up and play network rather than a bookable network in any way, it's those segments that are really got their back against the wall in the van space, and then you really need the technological breakthrough from a mileage perspective to really just move that on. Plus getting the 3.5 ton legislation over the line through government.
I think we're just about there on that, aren't we? I think it's
have been for about 3 months.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw something recently. The speed limiters being removed and all that sort of stuff. So I think we're in reasonable shape. So the rally this year, I'm trying to remember the dates. I think it's September, isn't it?
Second week in September.
Yeah. So what do we expect to see from Lex? Can you give us any teasers about what we're going to see from Lex on the rally this year?
We've got a couple of areas we're going to focus on. One of them is range anxiety, so I'm not going to give too much away, but we're going to have hopefully some challenges there and an interesting vehicle on that one. We'll do what we normally do, which is 2 cars and 2 commercial vehicles, but not going to let too much out the bag at the moment, because we do have a little bit of a reputation of doing things that aren't easy, and so I sometimes have to keep it under wraps until we get closer to it. So for instance, in last year's rally, we had a brand new vehicle and a converted vehicle, and they weren't actually in the country until the week before the rally started. So we got some ideas up in the air. We always want to make it relevant, and we want to try and be a bit different. So I know that's a terrible answer to a good question, but watch this space.
No, I expected nothing less, Chris. I'll be honest. And what about from AA? What's your plans for the rally this year?
Well, I don't want to steal anybody's thunder in terms of our marketing team, but I mean, the big thing for us this year is you'll get our great big truck doing the truck, and anybody who sees that on the road, it's a great bit of kit, and anybody who watches any recovery truck dismount its body, put a vehicle on the back, it is just an amazing watch for anybody, whether that's an ICE vehicle or an EV vehicle. But yeah, the truck is going to be one of the big things we certainly come with this year to the rally, and obviously we'll bring the normal brilliant support from our patrols of the year.
Absolutely, yeah, and always a joy to work with the team. I remember interviewing them at this show last year. Some great guys you got there, and you know the rally this year, Chris. Where's it going? Do you know the route and things? Because we're covering the whole country again, aren't we? I think you know.
Yeah, so I think we're starting Exeter way and then working our way up the sort of the west coast, then we're going up north. We've got to be a little bit careful because it can vary. Yeah, I think we're going up to the Newcastle area and then back down the east. And I think, and I don't know if Colin's going to jump out and have a go at me, and then hopefully we're finishing in Twickenham. So.
Brilliant. So it's another great event. I mean, it's always a joy to be a part of. I've had the pleasure of being on a few of the sessions and things, and you'll both be there in terms of supporting and driving and chivying on the Mythbusters.
Absolutely, that's the intention here.
I'm going to plead I'm on holiday for the very first day card, but yes, I will be there as soon as I'm on my flight back.
Excellent.
I will be joining the rally as soon as I'm back on the Tuesday, I believe.
Excellent. Chris, Duncan, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for supporting GreenFleet and the EV Rally over so many years, and long may that continue. I'm certainly looking forward to sort of seeing the socials and seeing what comes out, and also to what Lex are going to bring to the table this year, because it's always interesting. Chris, Duncan, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.